All right, we're gonna go back to PAN 1-4. I feel like the last one was kind of difficult. So we're gonna look at irrational numbers first. You need to know there can't be any fractions. There can't be any decimals that end. So like all the decimals need to keep going forever. The decimals can't repeat and they can't have a pattern. Another good place to look is square roots that aren't perfect squares. Those would be things like the square root of 2, square root of 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. There's a lot. There's a lot that aren't perfect squares. And then you look at one like square root of 2. The decimal is 1.414. 2, 1, 3, 5, 6. What number would come next? It's pretty hard to tell. I don't know what would come next. You'd probably have to have a calculator to know for sure. There's no pattern and it doesn't repeat anything, so it's irrational. We'll look at some numbers and just decide. So is square root of 4 irrational? So you type it into the calculator. Square root of 4 equals 2. So it's not irrational. It's not irrational because, it just doesn't even have a decimal. So is 1/3 irrational? It is, just looking at it, it's a fraction. Fractions can't be irrational, so no. You could look at it as a decimal, 0.33333, repeating. It has a pattern, and it repeats threes, so it is rational. Looking at some more, is 7 irrational? You could write it a couple ways. So you could say, no, it's not irrational because you can write it as 7/1. So it's a fraction, which is rational. Let's look at another one. Is 1/5 irrational? Once again, it is a fraction. Fractions can't be irrational. So 1/5 is the same as 0.2. The decimal stops or terminates, so it is rational. Let's look at a couple more. Is pi irrational? Type pi into the calculator and get a decimal for it, and you will see the decimal has no pattern. Pi equals 3.1415, 9265, and it keeps going. What number would come next? I don't know. If you know, let me know how you know, but it's random, so there's no pattern to it. So that number is irrational. Okay, so it's easy to tell. You just got to check a couple of things and you'll know if it's irrational or not. So let's see, is square root of 3 irrational? You type it into the calculator and the decimal is pretty random looking. You look at square root of 3, it's 1.73205. Keeps going. What number would come next? I don't know. Since it's random, it is irrational. All right, so that's about enough of that. Let's look at some rational numbers, just so you know that there are lots. Like, you could probably just start saying numbers and it's probably rational. Stuff like 1, 2, -5, -3, 1/5, 1/9, 1/10, square root of 1, square root of 4, square root of 9, square root of 16, square root of 25, 0.3535 repeating. It's repeating, so it has a pattern. 2.63, the decimal stopped, so it's rational. -5.1739, the decimal stopped, so it's rational. 3/4 is a fraction, so that's rational. 0 times anything will give you 0, so 0 times any number is rational. Stuff like 365, -232, all of them. I'm just going to stop there, that's too many. So there are tons of them. Basically anything you've dealt with before since you just started doing square roots. If it is not irrational, then the number is rational. It's really easy to tell if it's irrational. So if you can't tell, it's probably rational.